my friend. Welcome to Parenting A to Z. I'm Kelly Bourne, and this week we're taking a closer look at X-rays and medical procedures and hospital visits and how we can best set our kids up for success. So grab your cup of coffee and we'll get right to it. Oh man, it can be so hard, can't it, when we have to take our kids for an ultrasound or an x-ray, or maybe they have a big medical appointment or have to have a surgery, and it's not something they're used to, and it's not something that we're prepared for either as parents. It can be tough to deal with. And our kids can be worried about a variety of different things. Like our younger kids, lots of times they're worried about being separated if they have to go for surgery without mom or dad, and mom and dad aren't going to be there. That can stress them out a bit. Our older kids are generally more worried about pain. And then teenagers are a lot of times mostly worried about being embarrassed. No matter how invasive or major the procedure is that they're undergoing, a lot of times it's embarrassment. I can remember I worked as a pediatric registered nurse before my YouTube debut, and I can remember, I don't know why I said it like that, but anyway, I'm such a weirdo, I can't help it. A lot of times, like even these kids who would be facing very serious surgeries, very invasive procedures, would be mostly worried about how they looked in their hospital gown. So I think a big thing for us is just to kind of try to get in our kids' heads a little bit and focus on where their worry is and where their fear or anxiousness is, and help them with that, and not worrying so much about ours. Because, and I know, like I say that, and I know it can be so hard because I've been on both sides of the fence as the pediatric nurse, and I've also been the mom of a child who's been hospitalized, and it is not easy. It is not easy setting aside our own fears and anxiety. But I really feel like that's the first step, is just us being aware of what's going on for us, so that it doesn't get piled onto our kids, because our kids can see that and our kids can feel that if we're anxious and if we're worried. So just for us having an awareness of how stressed out we are, it can go a long way in kind of mitigating the effects that has on our kids. And then as far as practical ways of setting your kids up for success, is just letting them know what to expect. I think that's the biggest thing, is the fear of the unknown, of not knowing who they're going to be talking to, or where they're going to be, and what they're going to wear, and what's going to happen, what the procedure is going to be. Of course, this will depend on your kid's age, of course, and developmental level, but just equipping them with the knowledge in a really age appropriate way. Same thing as giving them the heads up. Like our younger kids, our toddlers, they won't need more than sometimes even a few hours of notice going into it for you to explain what's going on. Whereas older kids, they may want to have more awareness. They may need a week or 2 weeks to talk about it and hash it out over what's going on. So as far as us as parents equipping our kids with those tools, is just asking the medical professionals, thinking of the 5 senses. So what will my child see? What will they hear? What will they taste? Because sometimes if they have to drink something or ingest something, so the child has an awareness of what that's going to be like, what they're going to be feeling, what they're going, just looking at all of the senses, and then us having those answers then helps us discuss it with our kids. So keep those 5 senses in mind as far as preparing your kids of what to expect. And then when you have those answers, especially for your younger kids, those of you with toddlers and preschoolers, is role play. Act it out, what it's going to be like going into the reception area, and what it's going to be like putting on the gown, and what it's going to be like in the x-ray machine, and what it's going to feel like, and what you might hear, just so they have an idea, and they can develop that interest in the procedure and the logistics of what's going to happen, rather than focusing on the fear of the unknown. It's so empowering to feel like you have a say, and to feel like you have some control, and to feel prepared to know what you're walking into, even from really, really early ages. Our 3-year-olds and our 4-year-olds, we can absolutely equip them with this ahead of time. And then as far as how to deal in the moment, because isn't it so true that we can do our best to prep and prepare our kids, and to prep and prepare ourselves for what to expect, but it's a totally different ballgame when you're actually in the heat of the moment, so to speak, in this scenario, dealing with your child's fear. And I think first and foremost is just validating what they're going through, and so they know that you're on the same page, and that you get it, and that you're there, and that you support them. And I think another big one too that goes along with this is resisting the urge to lie. Because I know we have the best intentions, but I would always brace myself a little bit when I was getting ready to start an IV or give an injection, and the parents would say to the child, it's not gonna hurt. And like, you know that it's gonna hurt. You know that it's gonna hurt. So if it is gonna hurt, you can just be honest and saying, okay, it's gonna pinch a little bit, but here, squeeze my hand. Okay, are you ready? It might sting a little bit, but I'm right here with you. It just builds that trust so they know what to expect, and they can take that deep breath if they need to, and they know that mom or dad or whatever caregiver is there to support them. Because as soon as we lie, our kids start to not trust us. They start to not trust us, and then that can breed even more fear and anxiety. So try to resist the urge to lie. Be as open and as honest as you can at your child's developmental level. I know it's hard, and I know the temptation is very real, but try to resist the urge to lie. The other thing too that kind of goes along with that is meeting your child where they're at, because some kids want to look at the needle going in, and some kids want to look at the blood pressure cuff going on, and some kids are very interested, and for them it's empowering to see that happening. Where I think that's where sometimes as adults we can put our own fears on our children and our own anxieties on our children. Of course, like, not purposefully at all. We're trying to be helpful. But if your child wants to do that, if they want to watch the needle go in, then that's okay. Be there and support them through it, even if it makes you a little bit queasy. You can look away. You don't have to look at it if it's going to bother you, or you can also have a stand-in, right? It's okay if you need to have grandma or an uncle or somebody else come if they're, because everybody's different with blood and medical procedures and that kind of thing. So if that's not you, if you know that you're going to get queasy, if you're worried that you're going to pass out, you can talk about that ahead of time and maybe have a surrogate come in, whether it's a different relative or family friend, to help your child through that. And the other thing too that can really go a long way during the actual procedure or appointment or whatever it is just using distraction, especially for our younger kids, talking to them about their weekend or their holiday plans or what they like to do for fun. That can go a really long way at alleviating some of that anxiety if they are someone who is really preoccupied with what's going on. So distraction, it can be so key. That being said, of course, if your older kids are really into it and want to ask questions and want to know more and want to know why this is happening and why this is the next step and how come you're using a needle that's purple and how come you're not using the blue one, let them ask all those questions. Let them ask, because that's their way of having control over the situations. And heck, like, it could be spurring on a lifelong love of medicine or an interest in following that as a career path. You never know. So I wish you the best of luck. I know the hospital environment can be a tricky one to navigate as a parent trying to support your child. So I feel ya, I'm there with ya, and I'm giving you all the virtual hugs I can give. So, of course, any questions, comments below, I'd love to hear from you. And if you are looking for more in-depth parenting resources and support, don't forget to check us out in The Parenthood. I offer weekly office hours, and yeah, I'd love to chat more. So, best of luck, and I'll see you in the next video.